was a suspicious rhyme. Vedius and or Nymura, unclear which one tossed.
His Akali's not so painful, but I think the Nocturne it probably is. I was playing bot lane a bit with Vedius. His support is a little bit painful too.
Bro, I feel like this is so ruthless because we're just roasting him and he can't respond. Production, if you want to open his mic so he can respond, that's great. But
Screw you!
I mean, it also sucks. So it's hard. Sucks to suck. That's one of my favorite sayings, and it certainly would suck for Astralis if they weren't able to show up here. Momentum is obviously the question. Fnatic are no doubt the absolute and total favorites in this matchup, but so were Rogue. So always giving that small percentage to Astralis that they could find an upset here.
Yeah, and we saw the early game stats, right? Kind of phenomenal early games over the last couple of games. And I can see Yamato's giving the players some kind of massages, you know, they're feeling it. Hylissang's looking ready, all the players on the stage. And of course, Dajor, it's his first debut stage game in the LEC.
And that's going to be absolutely massive because for many players, this is an excellent moment where they feel fueled by the pressure, by the lights, by the change in environment to really show up and show what they've got. And other players crumble under that pressure. And it's so crazy because I remember looking back at Upset's first stage game, and he was one of those players that struggled for a long time adapting to the big stage, struggled to show up. Obviously, no longer the case whatsoever, but interesting now to see how he's kind of passed the torch to a new generation of young player as Dajor will play his first game on stage, and we're into picks and bans.
And of course, Astralis flying over from Denmark into Berlin to play the game. Of course, we'll fly back, I presume, for tomorrow's game, but still traveling. I wonder if they're traveling today or yesterday. I presume yesterday, got some warm-up scrims in today, so they're probably feeling good into pick and ban. Second week on 12.3. If you've been watching LCK, LPL, I think LCK has swapped to 12.3, but LPL was still on 12.2. Hecarim is a champ I want to talk about because this champion was first picked. I believe EDG was the one first picking it today. Although the champion didn't get changed so much on the new patch here, 12.3, it's risen so high in priority. AD junglers like Zhao and Lee are still strong, yes, but Hecarim has been a shining star.
Absolutely has. The tank Hecarim build is just generally so oppressive. It was good last year, last summer. Gilius was putting it to pretty good effect. And now, of course, rising in priority once again. But the TF, the Rise, banned away. Thresh taken off the board as well. Both the premier hyper carry options in Aphelios and Jinx still up and available. But time to see what Fnatic want to prioritize here.
What will they go into? They can go for jungler. Aphelios first pick is another one. Caitlyn's nerfed, of course. We're seeing a lot of Aphelios Jinx trade-offs from both sides. Kobbe is one of the AD carries that's been favoring Jhin a little bit. I wonder if Astralis want to early rotate something like the Leona that promisq's been having success on. But then again, giving counter pick to Hylissang is never a good thing. Jayce already picked up for them. And Jinx gonna be there to match. So now Fnatic have the option of matching the Jayce with something like the Graves if Wunder wants to opt into it. Would be a little bit different though. He's only really played one game of Graves, and I feel like he's playing more of a weak side role in this Fnatic. I mean, you broke it down on the Telestrator so perfectly for us, how Fnatic love to set up bot waves, play around bot, get stacking waves, dive that lane. So prioritizing jungle support, things like this in the early game mid are what they're gonna do. Viktor Zhao picked up, good farming mid Humanoid, and also denying it from Dajor, who I expect will try to counter pick it now. Can always just pivot and go for your support.
Is interesting here. Honestly, would prefer the support pick. One counter pick that we did see. Jayce, obviously, we've seen the Malphite pick to the Jayce, and one answer that I love that we saw in the LPL today was then blocking in Viktor, or not Viktor, Sylas rather, as your mid laner when the enemy team has a Malphite top.
Oh,
allows
Malphite.
you to punish that. Yeah.
Yep, Rock, dude. Malphite is such a monster pick for Fnatic right now. Jinx, Jarvan, Jayce, are you kidding me? It's the best Malphite game I've ever seen, so I hope Astralis ban that one away or Wunder decides to pick it up. I mean, Wunder's been having success on Gragas too and Gwen, so I feel like if you're going to ban top laners here for Astralis other than over supports, yeah, you've got a couple to ban away. Graves, Gwen, Malphite come to mind.
Yep. For now, it's going to be the Graves taken away. Mostly matched up here in terms of picks overall, though. Just the discrepancy between mid and top lane. Maybe we do see some bans going towards each side's opposing respective solo laners. But debating what the options are. I think there's a lot of picks still up and available, generally still powerful champions. Support is a huge question here, though, because promisq was absolutely unleashed on the Leona. It is going to be taken away, and we saw, I highlighted it, Vedi highlighted it to me, so I could highlight it for you, to be completely honest, and we know how powerful Fnatic's bot lane can be, how they can build leads on their own if they're set up for success.
And Rakan sticks out to me quite well now. Thresh down, Leona down. You're looking at Nautilus. Rakan, LPL is very famous for just picking Nautilus. Early rotation Nautilus, they love it. Aphelios Nautilus, Jinx Nautilus, whatever it is. There's the Malphite ban. It would have been a monster pick for Fnatic, so good denial there, but still leaves open things like Gwen. There's Nautilus taken away as well now, so Rakan comes to mind for the best support champ, unless you're looking at things like a range support, like Aphelios Lulu for the side of Fnatic. Wouldn't surprise me, but we haven't seen Hylissang on Lulu just yet, and it doesn't suit Fnatic so well for early dives.
When you've got a J4 on the enemy team, if you go for the Rakan, do potentially look at the world of Zilean coming back. Obviously a champion that's still very strong, Dajor. Opting for the Vex here now. Really only dash champion on the opposite side is the Xin, but still not a bad pick.
So Dajor is most played is Vex. I was going to bring it up. Maybe they'll go for a Vex this game, but I actually think it's not that good into Fnatic's draft against Viktor Aphelios. You're kind of outrange. You do need to dive in with the Jarvan, so I guess that works, but the lane isn't so much in your favor. So as long as he gets the 2 items safely, then they should be fine with their dive. So it looks like Wunder's going to match Gnar into the Jayce. I mean, what you're looking at here for Wunder is a champion that can escape a Jarvan, right? Gnar comes to mind. Jump out of the ult. There's the Rakan lock-in for Hylissang. Maybe Astralis could have picked up the Rakan on 4 to deny it, but then you're against Hylissang with counter pick, so he might find something to dig deep and pull out. The Gnar pick, of course, is just there to escape the Jarvan. Rakan, even more mobility for Fnatic. And now what does promisq want to lock in here is an aftershock support to counter the Rakan.
Well, we look at the compositional options. It feels like they want something that can find those flanks, some kind of big engage option. If you allow a Viktor and Aphelios to just sit in the backline in a team fight, it could be disastrous. Now, however, with the Galio locked in, you have a dive buddy for the Vex and the J4. They are able to connect key pieces of CC onto the backline as we get into scraps and skirmishes. Do have a lot of tools to shut down the Aphelios and Viktor on the side of Fnatic.
And this is a comp that Astralis have found success on. Although they've lost on it a few times, I believe. I can't remember exactly the games that they were playing, but they did have a lot of Vex Jarvan kind of dive games where it worked out, but sometimes it doesn't. And the reason it doesn't is because the enemy team has sufficient peel or escape tools to dodge the dive. I mean, I don't really have to break down their comp whatsoever. Jayce is good poke, will win out on the top matchup. A strong side you can play for, but the key core of that composition is just full engage. Side of Fnatic, got a lot of disengage. Mega Gnar is always good for disengage. Rakan is good for peel. Aphelios with Gale Force can escape. Zinza ultimate to push them back. So Fnatic's just trying to protect their carries and let the CC be used to kind of negate Astralis' dive, whereas Astralis have to get on Humanoid and upset to win the fight. Maybe Kobbe getting a reset would help out a lot.
And with Fnatic as the favorites here, I want to cast our attention again to promisq and Zanzarah. Obviously, it was a team effort for Astralis to step up, but those two were the catalysts for so much. So we'll see how the draft unfolds for now. Keep your eyes on those two players and see if they can match the high highs that they found last week. Titanic challenge stands in front of them to take down Fnatic to keep the momentum going, to play spoiler to the top of the table.
And it was against Rogue, the Vex Jarvan comp, that they won. They defeated the undefeated Rogue with Vex Jarvan. So maybe it's just comfort for them. Run it back. And that's what these players are confident in doing. So Dajor's first game on the LEC stage. We'll see how he performs alongside this lineup for Astralis, which has a lot of experience. Astralis first Fnatic, game 1, week 6. Oh,
second week 5. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for technical difficulties.
yeah.
We'll keep you guys updated. This is what the context is. You get more
Drakos
of us.
the color.
Oh yeah, the collar. Wasn't ready for you to see us on camera.
I just heard the toss, and then I was like, week 6, the second week 5, as Vedius would say.
Yeah, second week 5. Next week will be the third week 5, not to be confused with the 4th. Complicated how we track things here. It's very nonsensical. In moments from now, we're going to have a draft on your screen that we're going to be able to talk about a little bit more, and hopefully all the issues will be resolved soon. Obviously, the good news is we're playing in studio, so we have people live on hand who can come in, bam, bam, troubleshoot and fix any potential problems.
And also, it's like a new Euphoria podcast, right? You get it on Wednesdays, but now you can get it on Friday too.
The bonus podcast.
The weekend bonus secret podcast.
Well, it's good that you brought that up, because we talked to Upset, and we talked to Upset about a lot of things. It was a bit of a rambly episode, I'm not going to lie to you. But one thing we did talk about was bot lane. We did this Telestrator segment earlier, set up for, and again, shout out to Vedi. He actually pulled the clips that I used for that segment. But one thing that Upset talked about a lot was that, yes, they're doing well. Yes, they keep stacking waves. Yes, they keep setting dives. But the thing that makes it so impressive for Fnatic is that they're doing it in situations that on paper they should not be able to. So it's the Pike level ones. It's SK maybe not being confident enough to stop a freeze that allows him to stack a wave. And those are the situations that are hard to track in a game like this because observers are going to watch everywhere. There's so many points of action. But if you're just watching bot lane, and we may spend some time bot lane here, I want to see how promisq and Kobbe match against this duo, because if they're able to do the same thing they did in both their games last week, it's going to be so impossible to get any kind of footing in this game.
It's the minor things that you see off screen. On screen, the camera will pan bot. There's a stacking wave already. The dive happens. Double kill for Fnatic. Play for bot. It's Fnatic. And Upset just famously said in Euphoria, well, if it works for us, why doesn't everyone do it, right, guys? Just if playing for bot and diving bot works, just do it yourselves, guys. Let's see how you do it. And it's the minor things that you don't see off camera, where the enemy bot lane takes a bad trade, they have to base. Yeah. The wave stacking into them. They try to crash a wave, it gets frozen by Hylissang's Upset bases. The wave stacking into them. Wave control is so important if you want to play around that winning lane. Same for top. If you have a Jayce top, you don't want to just dive on one wave, right? You want to stack a wave, dive, force them back, or kill them to deny that wave. So it's a lot of minute communication things. Hey, Humanoid, you have mid push in 1 minute. A lot of things that teams will do is they'll ping waves, a very common thing. If you pay attention to the minimap, a lot of the times when you watch pro games, you'll see teams ping their own waves coming out of base. And what they'll say is, I can say dive bot in 15 seconds, but figuring out 15 seconds in your head is a lot harder than just looking at bot wave and saying, when that bot wave crashes, we're diving. So you can time it very well to watch the wave on the minimap, clear that camp, and then just time yourself into it, and that's how teams communicate.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that's, again, like you said, it's easy to miss, because it is in the nitty-gritty. It is in the small details. It is in the slightly winning trades that allow small advantages like a better wave state to accumulate, which eventually turns into things that we can all see, like kills and dives and the really great highlight moments you're going to see in any collection of replay clips.
And
right?
all the smaller things as well. It's like, if the communication is like, do you have mid push on this wave for the bot dive? And he says, no. Well, now you're thinking, well, the wave's just come out of base. If I run mid now and help him get mid push, you saw the Hylissang run towards mid as Pike, push out the lane with Humanoid in a losing matchup, then he can come bot and get an extra person, right? So it's a 4-man dive instead of a 3-man dive, safer, easier to execute.
And just for update, issues with players loading into the game, so league officials are investigating, and we'll kind of keep you posted as we go. Yeah, I think right now when we look at these compositions, I'm nervous anytime the Aphelios comes out, again, because of the setup, because of the CC, how reliable it can be once you have the purple gun, especially when you've got a Xin. You know, it's like it's easy, straightforward gank setup, and you've got Rakan for Hilly.
Yeah, and the reason I think Aphelios just has that little edge over Jinx is just the difference in playstyle, right? Jinx is more of a, I'll play in the backline, I'll play defensive, a lot more damage in a sense. If you have 3 items and you get a reset, then you're really pumping out damage compared to Aphelios, who's very dependent on the guns. But oftentimes you'll see AD carries like Doggo in the LPL, where he can just Gale Force forwards, one-shot someone, or Gale Force forwards, ult engage with your root gun, and that's how you can solidify just one follow-up from your team, boom and done. Jinx can't really engage as much, she's just a follow-up, so Aphelios is a little bit more dynamic.
Yeah, I would say, and I said Jinx at the end of the day feels more reliable. She might have a slightly lower ceiling, but you know what you're going to get when you get a Jinx. Whereas Aphelios, if you're playing with a great Aphelios and they always have the right gun, you're going to feel like, wow, this champion is so ludicrously OP. But when they walk in with like red-purple and they're spinning and slowing as they get one shot by the enemy champion, you're like, wow, this champion is turbo useless.
It's funny because I remember, I don't know who it was an LEC AD carry, I think it was Patrick I was talking to, and we were watching a game together, and the Aphelios had like a different gun, and I didn't notice it to the human eye because I don't play Aphelios very often. He was like, oh, he's going to lose the game. And I was like, why? He's like, he cycled his gun so poorly. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so this is, by the way, if you want to be a turbo nerd, you just learn a lot about Aphelios because, again, most people haven't actually read his full kit, let alone understand it. But that's enough about Aphelios and about bot lane. To hear more about the draft, to hear more about the game as we wait for the issue to be resolved, we're going to send it back to the analyst desk with VoD and VoD.
No more Aphelios. No, stop it. Stop it. You can't keep offending the British like that, Daniel. Okay? You know, all you Americans sound the same to us as well. Okay? Like, we are classy.
We are.
You know, educated.
You've heard of the Euphoria podcast, but have you heard a podcast where 2 people are basically just speaking to themselves because they have the same voice?
Exactly.
It's unique content.
We may even bring tea and crumpets. You never know, you know? Anyway, let's talk a little bit more about the draft. Again, we are experiencing some issues with the players loading into the game right now. So once we resolve those issues, we will jump straight into the game. For the time being, you will have to listen to Brit 1 and Brit 2. So Fnatic, they have drafted themselves Gnar in the top lane, Zhao in the jungle, Viktor in mid, Aphelios an AD carry, and then Rakan as support. So let's start by talking about Fnatic's comp and typically how they want to play.
Okay, so as the casters were saying, I mean, Aphelios kind of gives you that half setup, which allows Rakan to have a much easier time. The Aphelios was the first pick as well. I really do like it when teams like Fnatic pick the Aphelios over the Jinx, because it gives you that control in the first 3 waves. You start off with the Calibrum and the Severum, very good laning items. You go in towards that Graviton, which allows you to set up towards early plays. And I think for a team like Fnatic, where we were talking in the pre-gram saying, if they start getting micro advantages in the bot lane, game's just over. This feels like exactly the kind of bot lane which can allow them to play towards that. That was my first thoughts.
For sure. We also saw them get the Zhao in favor of Razork as well. A very powerful jungler pretty much all over the world, especially when we think about the itemization changes that have been happening recently. Certain junglers, I think, have gotten weaker. Jarvan in particular, I think, suffered a lot from the Starax changes that happened. And I know I saw a lot of tweets last week about the criticism towards pro players, reading patch notes, item build changes, and some of the priorities. So we'll see if they've updated their understanding of what to build right now. But in contrast, that Zhao will be playing into the J4. Astralis have a lot of comfort on their side with the Jayce in the top lane. They've got themselves Vex in mid, something we've been seeing a lot from Dajor. Whether it's a counter pick or just a comfort pick, he'll pick it in both situations. And then they've got themselves a Jinx Galio in the bot lane. We know that Jinx is a common answer into the Rakan, but to me it seems like that they have, as the casters were saying, a lot of dive, a lot of team fight power, and basically a lot of tools, I think, to actually move around the map a lot as well.
For sure, and then you look at the Viktor of Aphelios and you say, if they don't get caught in the dive, you die horribly when they have 2-3 items, because you have the right weapons on the Aphelios, you have just anything on the Viktor. You walk into a choke where you don't quite catch them, that's effectively lights out. Now, they don't have a Thresh to help them in that regard, they don't have a Tahm Kench, so they're going to have to be their own stuntmen, no stunt doubles to help them out this time. But that's really where the Zhao and the Gnar and the Rakan try to use their offensive capabilities to at least try and split up the dive combo a little bit, because if you got Vex and you got J4 and the Galio going in at the same time, bam, 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 very hard to survive through that.
Yeah.
If they split it up and space it out and allow some DPS to come through, little bit worried, particularly with something like the Zhao, kind of being that difference maker a lot of the time between the Aphelios and the Jinx, because the Zhao just doesn't take damage from the Jinx because you're never going to be within melee range of him, hopefully.
That's a really great point, because it was something that I was thinking of as well. One of the great things about Jinx is her range, and then if she gets the resets, she can just become an absolute menace in teamfights. But Xin really does a great job of creating chaos for us. Now, you can see the drafts behind us now, just for an extra added bit of visual clarity. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting was this Vex-Galio combo. I always think back to Galio-Camille. It was a terrifying combo, often being the fact that there was a period in time where you could flex the Galio in between mid and support. Camille also was just like a very safe, blind pickable top laner as well. And that combo, especially by LPL teams, was devastating in its ability to set up team fights. I do not think that that combo is quite the same with Vex, but if you think about Vex landing her ult into then getting a W, which sets off this chain fear, and then a Galio ult comes in on top with a Jarvan there as well, like, I can see a lot of damage being done.
Hopefully, and what's going to make that easier on my side, is, my kind of view of things is actually, if you start off with the J4 instead, it feels like it's even easier to pull off.
Right.
Because it's not just that the Vex can start it, it's the Vex and the Jarvan can start it. So I think you're probably locking your eyes on Jarvan first, and because he has the Flag and Jag, which doesn't require the Vex ult to hit. But once you pin them in and the Galio ult's there, the Vex is a confirmed hit. But you, of course, as you said, you can start off with the Vex too. So you've got so many things to kind of track the cooldowns of. Makes it quite difficult to kind of play around that whole, we want to disengage, survive with our carries, and then kind of fight back. It feels like there's so much you have to be aware of. One slip up can cost you the whole team fight.
Certainly can. Now, if you're just joining us, we're working on getting into the game between Astralis and Fnatic. League officials are now remaking the lobby off-air with the same picks and bans, and we'll get on the Rift as soon as we can. Technical issues like this do occur, especially when players come back to the stage after not being on the stage for a while, so I imagine that the issues will be resolved very, very quickly. Now, we are just discussing the drafts. We've talked a little bit about some of the cool things that we've noticed about the compositions, but let's kind of tie it into win conditions, things that we expect in terms of early game. Who do we favor in terms of the early game? Who are we keeping our eyes on to be looking to be more aggressive in the early game?
Okay, so when I see a J4, I normally think, okay, can you do anything mid? It's Viktor, so you can. Vex obviously has the early CC as well. You have a strong level 1. Not that Viktor has a weak level 1. He's got one of the strong ones too. There are options there for Astralis to go towards the mid jungle. Jayce and Gnar. Very flippy matchup with both of these junglers too, because if you leave it on an island, Jayce is probably just going to bully out the Gnar. That's the accepted kind of realistic situation you're going to have there. But the Zhao and the J4 obviously have ways to get up there. So early game, going to be a lot on jungle tracking. I don't know if either of these teams want to go for anything like a level 1. That doesn't strike me as a strength of either of these teams, which means that you're not going to have as much early vision to track junglers first.
It
all kind of goes into each
level
other.
1 is very famous, my friends. While they may not have done many
have like a Braum or a Nautilus.
Yeah, but that's when you have the professor on your roster, okay, level 1s are just written somewhere in his resume. You know what I mean? he'll come up with a level 1 regardless of the situation. And the reason why I wanted to bring up early game, you're right. When I kind of look at these, I think that there is a slightly greater responsibility on Astralis to try and be more proactive in the early game, mainly because when I think about later game team fighting, we talked a little bit about that Zhao. We talked about while Astralis do have a lot of dive, if that dive doesn't work, you're basically closing the gap for an Aphelios. You then have a lot of scaling and zone control with the Viktor, which you know is going to offer more into the late game. Not only that, it's Humanoid's Viktor, for those that don't know, in the playoffs. Humanoid was pretty terrifying on this champion, and what's something he's very comfortable on. Then, of course, the Gnar offers a lot in teamfights later on into the game as well. So I feel like that Fnatic have that scaling element, but the thing that I think you always have to consider when playing against Fnatic is that Hyli won't sit in his lane, or if he does, his intent is to burn your flashes or set up for a dive, as we've been talking about pretty much throughout the entire pregame. You know that with a Zhao for Razork, he will always be looking for opportunities to try and invade, look for opportunities, try and make plays. So I think that there's a great chance for us to see a really big bloodbath in the early game between these two teams.
But you can do that without the damn drafts.
I mean, that's very true. I just think it makes the drafts even more interesting because one of the things I think that we've seen from Fnatic recently is great control and resilience in terms of their getting an early game lead and then what they can then do with it. If the expectation for them is, hey, you don't need to get the early game lead this time round in order to win the game, I'm curious as to what you think they'll look like.
Well, I'd like to be a salesman very quickly. And have you heard of my lord and item savior, Hullbreaker?
Oh,
because if we have the early game dominance coming out of Fnatic and they win through bot lane and the Aphelios is unlocked and they start striking dragons, then suddenly you're thinking, wait, hang on, this is going to come down to an objective fight. Maybe we can do a 4-man and then have our top lane as isolated. Well, now once you build up that Hullbreaker, it's really hard to deal with. It's been built up a lot in the eastern regions now. I'm thinking about like PCS, LGL,
You're
LPL.
thinking about the Rek'Sai with the Hullbreaker, aren't you?
I'm also thinking about that one too, but I wasn't going to mention that one by name. But yeah, stuff like the Jayce is not at liberty to really build a Hullbreaker, and if you are, then that is madder than I had expected you to be. But something like a Gnar, when you get towards that Hullbreaker plus another item, really hard to displace from a side lane, which means that Astralis, who, if they do get an early lead, might want to stack towards dragons. I feel like even then, it's hard for the Jayce to push the advantages unless he's like mega far ahead.
Yeah. Now, of course, we have talked a lot about the drafts. One of the things I want to talk a little bit more about now, seeing as we are still waiting to jump into game, is about 12.3. One of the things I was kind of expecting a little bit more change in terms of the meta, but I feel like that we're seeing a lot of the same things. When we think about itemization-wise, we've obviously been seeing some big changes in terms of how the jungle was hit. Things like Hylissang that was very, very popular, and like Jarvan was also very popular. With her, Caedrel talking a little bit about Hecarim rising in popularity as well, but it feels like that this meta isn't quite changing as dramatically as we thought. So what are your thoughts on that?
So I think what's happened is, for me, there were a couple of power picks which were really hit. I'm thinking more in mid lane in regards to that than the jungle. But even then, it kind of fits into the same narrative of the best picks for a lot of the roles have been hit, but they haven't been replaced by anything new. They've just been replacing whatever's below them in the ladder. So we've had this larger pool of mid laners, and then suddenly, oh, well, the Corki's gone. TF is lower pick ban as well. It's not like it's being replaced by too much as I'd like to see more Aries. We've not seen that do so well. But in this game, you got the Vex, you got the Viktor. It's stuff that was already kind of present. It's just kind of risen to the top after those picks were already gone. So I can definitely agree with the whole, have things changed that much? No, not really. It's just the remainder of what was there.
All right. Now, if you are just joining us, we're working on getting into the game between Astralis and Fnatic. League officials are now setting up a remake of the lobby off-air with the same picks and bans, and we'll get on the Rift as soon as we can. Thank you very much for bearing with us. We wish to jump onto the Rift just as much as you do, and the second we have more updates, we will share them with you. So, as we continue to talk about the game, we want to remind you as well of the stakes, because here in the LEC, it wouldn't really be the LEC if things weren't in particularly close. So if possible, production, could you please bring up the standings so we can remind our viewers where everyone sits in the table right now? Because Fnatic currently reside near the top. They, alongside G2, are getting very close to Rogue after dropping 0-2 this week. If they win this game, they will actually tie Rogue for first. Of course, then later games will determine a few other things. But there are a lot of implications as we get throughout the day in terms of how things will play out in terms of the standings.
And a lot of what we talked about in the pre-show was about actually which of our teams have been struggling. What are these teams which are going to miss playoffs? Of course, we didn't talk about Fnatic and GT, who technically still could, I believe, miss playoffs.
Technically still could,
But
yes.
the reason that we weren't really talking about them is because it seems like they're very set in their identity. They've found the way that they want to play out the game. They look scary. And Rogue, I do feel like they were probably experimenting a little because it's very hard to get good experience on different styles when you're winning with just like this one thing that you're very, very good at. I still expect them to be a force coming into the last part of the last couple of weeks of this split, but Fnatic and G2 might overtake them. That might have playoff implications because that side choice in best of fives, the upper bracket, blah, blah, blah. A lot of that comes in very important.
Yeah, I think that one of the interesting... I heard an interview with Alfari recently where he was talking about how he, when he looks at a lot of these teams, he kind of sees Fnatic and G2 as a bigger threat as they get closer and closer to playoffs, more so than Rogue. And after their recent losses, I think that debate more and more is happening. I know the community is like, well, it seems that Rogue time has occurred and Rogue is suddenly on the decline. But when you kind of look at Fnatic and their form, I too wouldn't be surprised as they rapidly try to chase behind Rogue. Of course, Astralis all the way towards the bottom of the standings. I'm pretty sure, technically speaking, they can still qualify for playoffs. I'm pretty sure it was Schalke that was 1-10, and then they went on their 7-game winning streak to 8-10, and then they had their crazy tiebreaker situation where they were able to qualify, and that was also the split that Caedrel was really sad, I'm pretty sure. But it looks like that we are getting very ready for the game. So you don't have to listen to the Brits talk anymore. We're going to send you over to the American once again. Drakos, why don't you entertain us more with the Drakos and Caedrel podcast?
Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the American. That's not how I talk. That's not how some of my family talks.
I can't do an American accent.
Yeah, it's fine, bro. You're still
terrible.
British. We get the 50-50 blend up here. Everybody's favorite.
Drakos, just start the game, man.
Bro, oh, I'm sorry. Let me just...
start the game.
Weird. It's not the button that says start the game.
Have you tried blowing
they're in picks and bans. They're remaking as we speak. Obviously, they're not going to need the full 30 seconds between every pick, so we expect it to go a little bit faster, short of someone accidentally misclicking. Upset just did this motion to Hylissang, which I don't know what that means, but I assume means he's going to get fed.
Do you know what I realized recently? So in those summer 2020 playoffs, when we got knocked out, we lost to Fnatic in the Super Week. So we were 8-8, and Fnatic was 7-9.
Sure.
So we were ahead of Fnatic. And then they beat us to make it to playoffs.
Yeah,
and that year, they knocked RNG out of Worlds. And then Uzi retired. So I think I made Uzi retire.
Play us off, production, quick. Back to the analyst desk.
It's just a thought.
And also, he came back right when you started co-streaming, so clearly, where Caedrel goes, Uzi goes. Wow, this is self-serving.
Have you ever seen us in the same room together? My AD carry's clean.
Okay. All right. Wow.
You can ask Vedius.
Narcissism. What is it? Textbook definitions. You can ask Medic because he's technically still a doctor, but you might get a picture of this guy when it does come up. We are still a minute away from game. Now, keep in mind, if you're like, damn, I'd really love to watch some League of Legends. Everyone's in the same boat. We're going to get there. And just like, before we get in, we're just going to, stand up, stretch, get some water, do your wrist exercises. If you're a gamer, you never do these. We all know we should. We all watched that one video where and then we did it once.
It's true. You watch that one video where it's like, these are the stretches.
I'm going to get control of my life. You do it once, it never happens again.
Yeah,
so
do
your wrist stretches, relax, prepare your lungs. We already did that ahead of time, but you're going to scream and shout if you're a Fnatic or Astralis fan, because
we're in game.
It's time.
I can hear it.
Okay, hold on. Let's get the clean reset. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Fnatic versus Astralis. You have been waiting patiently for what we can only hope will be an absolute bloodbath, so let's get to it. You heard about the draft from us. You heard about it from the double Brit desk, bangers and mash, as I will now call them. And now we can actually see what will happen.
So, something I saw at the start of the game is Razork. Look at his items. He has a pink ward and a potion. Normally you go refillable on jungle. Only junglers like kind of fiddlesticks skip the potions because they have so much sustain in jungle, but Razork's actually placed a pink in his entrance of the jungle, so that's actually very interesting to see. Zhao is not a champion that gets very low in jungle, so I think he can afford to do it, but a little bit of extra vision for the Fnatic side, as Astralis do put a little bit of defensive vision themselves, and they ward out Fnatic's blue.
And I really like it as a recognition. Obviously, it could be difficult if he does have to fight a 1v1 skirmish over Crab early on, but generally you can avoid that, and J4, not the most threatening if he doesn't land his combo, but crucially, when we've seen Astralis pop off, and they've had pretty fantastic early games in the last week, it was crazy early game pathing from Zanzarah, getting frisky, getting creative on picks like this J4, who is a gank style champion. Again, I think you said it. If you're 0-0-0 on Jarvan by like level 6,
I think if you're 0-0-0 on Jarvan, like 15 minutes,
15 minutes,
something's wrong.
Level 6 a little too eager.
You gotta get some early ganks, maybe like level 2 bot, I don't know, something like this. Creative, full clear into base, into gank somewhere. Forcing flashes is always good at Jarvan at around level 4 or 5, because of course then you can cycle to 6, and by the time you get to 6, they still don't have flash. So things like this are very important, as Fnatic are gonna try to pull the wave here a bit, expecting him to get a little bit of bot push, but then again, Jinx can push in Aphelios if she just plays for rockets.
Hylissang has to be careful here. A bit more flexibility to go in and out, but obviously Galio a bit more effective stats when it comes to more extended trades, especially with the Aftershock versus the Guardian, but we'll keep our eyes on it. And interestingly, we're also getting the press the attack coming out, so misstep from Kobbe could cost him a lot, but observers are keeping the focus on bot lane because we're kind of waiting with bated breath after all the discussion about bot lane to see like, oh, are they going to do it this game? Are they going to do that thing where they just win a trade that should be absolutely unwinnable and take total control?
And something to note, I think this is what Fnatic's plan was, as I hold my breath as promisq walks up. I'll just bring up the minimap for a second, because we talked about this pink ward being on the entrance of Fnatic's jungle, and Razork actually starting potion over refillable to make sure that pink ward happens. I think what he was scared of is Zanzarah starting blue and invading his red and taking away his red buff through the entrance. Now, of course, you can EQ over the Dragon Pit, but it just covers one line of vision, where if he does lose his red, it's almost like a split map scenario, and you don't want a split map if you're Fnatic. You want to play for bot side, so Razork is going to clear down there, and Zanzarah has hit level 3 after doing his bot side camps, hovering around mid for now.
See if he can maybe make a play happen again. I think we've said it, and we'll just continue to say it as we see if it can repeat itself again. Zanzarah and promisq, the big factors for the success in weeks 4 to 5. Insane K+A at 14. 4 kills and assists, 14 minutes is absolutely nuts statistics. Match and kill participation. These are the guys that are making stuff happen. And with Zanzarah already getting aggressive on this top side, you can see how it was working in previous weeks. That said, Wunder giving it the respect it deserves, backing away from that tower.
So initially when I saw Zanzarah hover around mid so that Dajor could use all his mana to push the wave, I thought he was just helping Dajor get a cheater recall, like just an early reset after the first 3 or 4 waves. But instead he tried to pull him towards top side. The problem is the wave didn't crash, so they couldn't actually dive top. Wunder spotted it out already, so now Humanoid's going to be the one that's up in tempo in mid as Fnatic crash the bot wave. Maybe they're going to try and base themselves, but looking for early dives, a little bit of proactivity there from Astralis. Didn't actually net them anything, but I like the ideas coming through.
One thing I do really also love about this Galio pick is he is exceptionally hard to dive. That said, a little bit of lockup here. Checking out the bush, I like it. Fnatic frequently one to make the play that no one expects, just like that. Leaping in, good damage on the Kobbe, the leap right back out, upset flashing forward, Ignite ticking, but Kobbe will walk away with his life. Pressure for Fnatic, but not able to grab the kill.
So 3 summoners for 2 trade in favor of Astralis, of course, because they still have promisq summoners, but the problem is they're going to have to base, and they're going to have to drop a wave. As I say that, Kobbe cancels his recall. I wonder how many potions he's chugging through to make sure that he can sustain through this lane. Hylissang and Upside are a little bit low, but of course Razork is down towards the bot side. You can see Zanzarah did clear towards top, but he's backtracking because he knows bot lane is under a lot of pressure. He's scared of some kind of dive. There's going to be a 3v3 here, but Razork gets spotted out.
Zanzarah being here is massive. They could go for the dive if he wasn't. He has the level advantage on the side of Razork if he wants to commit for anything else, but both sides going to back away. Hylissang just going to move up for a little bit of vision, feeling pretty confident with the Jinx and the Galio locked into the tower that he can get some information as to where Zanzarah is. Spotting out the Gromp means they know exactly what is happening. With Upset recalling, we can take a brief breather as the action will just reset.
Of course, Astralis have done their research. They know Fnatic's playstyle. Their bread and butter is bot lane, so Zanzarah adapting there. There's always this looming threat of a bot dive when you're playing against Fnatic every time a wave crashed under their tower. I'd love to see bot lane right now, observers, if we could, because Hylissang is going to pull the wave as per usual. Might die for it though, but he has to be careful for the promisq. Tries to cancel Kobbe's base. Knows he has no flash, and he's playing with his flash there. So, classic Fnatic. If you don't stack a wave and dive, why not hold the wave and freeze? Kobbe's forced to base. That'll help Upside out. He can hold that for a wave or 2, and that should net him a little bit of a CS advantage. Hylissang will be a little bit later on the base, but because promisq cancelled his 2, he's going to be the one staying to try to crash it and maybe push it in.
And these little plays from Hylissang he's been doing now for years, where he just goes and pulls the wave. And you're right, sometimes he does die for it, but what it does is it does really set up Upset to hold the wave here, to try to take control, and if they stack another wave and move in, Astralis very low on summoner spells. If Zanzarah is not in the area, it's easy to pull off the dive, especially because WhiteKnight doesn't have TP, Dajor doesn't have TP, so if there's a man advantage on the bottom side for Fnatic, they will be able to easily pull off the dive.
I can smell a bot dive coming in from Fnatic, because the next wave coming to Fnatic's tower is closer, so it should net into a stacking wave, but Zanzarah again reading the play. He's given up around 2 camps just to make sure he's here, and he's making sure that this bot wave crashes so it doesn't bounce and stack. Razork's in the area. He's level 5. They could look for a fight here. Razork could come around. There is no vision for Astralis. Zanzarah's just kind of telling this bot lane, hey guys, push, try to crash the wave. If they come, we can fight the 3v3, and we can turn onto Razork if he shows. Maybe Fnatic, they saw Zanzarah run into this bush, so they know that he's hovering around here, so they're just going to kind of get the Oscar and just act as if they don't know. So Zanzarah wastes so much time, and Razork is the one who gets the lead.
Yeah, but not letting the wave crash means they're just right back in the same scenario. And here's the thing, is we're in an interesting stalemate where both junglers feel like they're forced over and over again to go bottom as long as Fnatic can keep getting control of waves. The good news is the wave state is reset. It's not going to be an immediate follow-up dive after this, but who does this actually favor in the long run? Just leaving these solo lanes to keep farming while it's an absolute bloodbath on the bot side.
It's likely going to favor Fnatic because top is not going in the way Astralis might want, but Zanzarah is going to go on to Hylissang here. Ultimate.
Hylissang leaping back, ultimate with a follow-up. Hylissang should get taken down. It's first blood. Razork now in trouble. Recast of the ult, not going to go through, but clean punish coming in. Hylissang getting away with murder in so many games in the past weeks, so Astralis are not going to let it happen this time.
Yeah, like confidence, especially from Dajor, just instantly engaging onto Hylissang. Fnatic's mid laner was not in the area, and Dajor had level 6. promisq is going to flash onto Razork, no flash.
Razork, nice sidestep, but it's just not going to do anything. Astralis with 2 quick kills.
Yeah, Astralis reading Fnatic like a book here, and Dajor in his debut stage game on the LEC has 2 kills under his bed. 2 kills for Astralis, 2 kills for Dajor. And that should give him a lot of confidence now. Did drop a wave or 2 for this play, but still always going to be worth it because now your bot lane's under so much less pressure than they were before. Vision established on the bot side of the map. Scuttle Crab for Zanzarah gets him a little bit back in the game on camps. Astralis sitting happy.
And we heard about it on the desk as well while we were working through the pause. Comfort pick or counter pick, not always clear, but Dajor clearly comfortable on this champion, and it is working. 2-0-0 in the early game. We know this is a champion that spikes super hard at 6. Dajor getting 2 quick kills, and it's not going to get easier. Yes, late game Viktor, much more reliable value, but right now, absolutely a Vex show.
Definitely is, and Dajor is going to be forced to back away, had no potions and was a little bit low. Will run back to the lane though with Sorcerer's Shoes, so he won't lose too much. Top lane just kind of been farming as expected. Jayce in isolation should win the matchup, but Wunder's holding out pretty well. A little bit of defensive items to start off with, and yeah, Fnatic always going to play towards bot side. Astralis read it, they match it, and Dajor's the one to collapse first. So 4v3, they win out. 2 kills to them. Herald is up, so we'll see if Fnatic want to pivot towards Herald. The only danger is then you're leaving your bot lane vulnerable again as Astralis, and maybe Fnatic want to dive you. So how does Astralis dissect the map?
Yeah, and importantly, because the 2 kills do go into Dajor, it's not a massive advantage for the Astralis bot lane, so it still can explode into a pretty even 2v2 at any moment. That said, Zanzarah and promisq again teaming up, clearing out the vision. Galio hitting level 6 off the ward. Upset and Hilly have to be careful here.
Yeah, and smart play from Astralis. Zanzarah could have EQ'd over to do the Herald right now. He could be soloing Herald, but he knows Razork's camps are up bot side, and he knows that Razork is likely going to be here. So let's just match, keep up the jungle support pressure, make sure Upset and Hylissang can't stack waves, and keep fighting them.
Stepping back. It's going to be a couple plates. It looks like they're going to be split between 3 members, so not the most ideal scenario, but Upset and Hylissang are not farming. They're being put so far down. In respect to Astralis, we expected Fnatic bot side dominance, but they came prepared for this strategy. Zanzarah playing with disaster here. Upset not great guns to defend in the dive. Bit of sustain doesn't hurt. Hylissang still level 5. Maybe they're not confident on the level 6 timer, but Astralis are going to back away here.
Astralis winning out on the 3v3 bot side right now. Of course, because Dajor is giving up waves to lean towards it. 20 CS down, but putting map pressure and denying Fnatic any options or openings to make plays on the bot side of the map. We'll see if they start up the Dragon here, because full vision in the river, Crab, take away that pink ward. They could start it up, but Hylissang might hit 6 soon on Rakan, so that could be a dangerous point.
Yep. One thing to note, though, is that Dajor, yes, he does have the 2 kills, but all that time away from mid lane has cost him down 15 CS. Kills still very much going to give him the individual gold advantage, but something to track if he continues to roam, if he continues to leave his lane.
Zanzarah here again, could be on the Dragon, similar to the way that he could have been on the Herald earlier, but he's just there for information, there for pressure, there to make sure that their bot lane is safe. And right now, they're actually ahead of Fnatic's bot lane. All those freezes we saw earlier, the amount of time Razork was spending down towards the bot side, Zanzarah gave up a lot, but now he's back in the game. Why? Because bot crabs spawned twice. It was no top side crabs this game. Both spawned bot side, and Astralis had bot push, so that's kind of gotten him even with Razork, and now almost 3 plates over to Kobbe.
Yeah. Of course, for Astralis, it feels like the season is all but over, but despite that, once that pressure was removed, once they were able to play with no fear down at 0-9, they've been, feels like, unleashed here in the early game, and certainly prepared for Fnatic in the early game, which is truly impressive when you take into account that Fnatic are the best early game team in the league at this exact moment statistically. First tower percent, massive gold differences, very rarely lose any towers, but at this point, Astralis are the ones in control.
Yeah, and it surprises me because when it comes to the week 1 stages, Razork was really struggling, and he's been a pivotal point to help Fnatic's early game. If you look at week 1, Razork was not actually doing too much in the early game, not finding too many plays, but over the last couple of weeks, he's developed fantastically alongside this Fnatic lineup. I mean, Humanoid and Upset, I think, have the 2 best laning stats in the league, right? So just from raw data alone, your lanes are naturally winning, so playing around those winning lanes is what he's tended to do, and he's more of a topside player, Razork, from last year. He's normally playing around Hirid, so now he's trying to adapt it to this playstyle, playing more towards mid and bot side. and he's done a phenomenal job so far, but Astralis in this game have shut it down so far.
Yeah, and last week, he got to run the same plays in 2 different games. Both against SK and Vitality, they set up back-to-back bot-side dives in the early game. He was set up for success very early on through his bot lane being successful playing through them. This game, it has been denied. So now, while Razork did have a fantastic week 5, we need to see what he can do in week 6 when Fnatic don't have an immediate bot-side lead.
Yeah, the lead's mainly coming from mid lane, which I presume is kind of evened out. Dajor slightly ahead because of the kills, but still around a 20 CS lead for Humanoid, who will have that constant push. No dragon yet, but Razork might face check.
As ulti gets himself a bit of space. Now the follow-up. Zanzarah has now been caught out. Clean follow-up. All that magic damage shield is not going to do anything. promisq immediately interrupted. Fnatic firing back. Humanoid getting a kill in the mid lane. 1v1. Oh no, right when it looked good for Astralis, Fnatic obliterate everybody.
Yeah, and just like that, the whole map collapses. All that bot side pressure that you've done throughout the early game is gone. Clean slate for Fnatic. Humanoid gets a solo kill. That's going to be a full mid tower because Razork has Herald as well. And this is all because Upset ignored the bot wave and ran with his jungle support to get vision first. This is a very important concept that AD carries around the world do. Instead of going to bot lane and catching the wave that Jinx pushes in, let's go to mid first to make sure we get vision around the bot side river before I go for that wave. Upset was there. Hylissang, instant reaction to get on top of Zanzarah. Tries to flash away, but Hylissang's there to predict the flash. So watch Upset, he's just collapsing with his jungle support. Let's get vision first, I'll get the bot lane later. So Astralis think here, free pick, it's going to be a good play. Dajor can collapse with ultimate. No, Upset's here, Hylissang's here. 3 kills for Fnatic, solo kill in mid. I think Dajor was focused so much on helping his team that he kind of walked into Humanoid a bit too much and got punished.
And really, it felt like that could have gone so well if Upset wasn't in the area. So these small things really add up. And now, went from Astralis controlling bottom side to honestly, Astralis needing to sweat a little bit. Can't let them afford to get these leads. And similarly, the more you focus on the bottom side of the map, Caedrel, the bigger problem Wunder is going to be on the top side of the map. We heard Nymura call it out already. Hole Breacher for Wunder coming in on the top side. Nightmare item to deal with in the 1v1.
Yeah, Hole Breaker, such a powerful item for these kind of AD champions, Graves and Gnar. But as the observers have just highlighted for us, Razork now sweeping them away. They had a ward here, they had a ward here as well. So Astralis had deep vision on Fnatic's bot side jungle. So as much as they gave up those kills, they were hovering around mid. And Razork might be face-checking them again.
Razork in trouble. Can't get away with it twice. This time there's no AD carry in the area. Gore Drinker, though, that's a big heal. He buys so much time, and they lock themselves into their own Cataclysm. Dajor runs right into the waiting arms of Humanoid. They lose the ability to speak, and meanwhile on the top side of the map, Wunder and WhiteKnight duking it out. promisq running.
No ultimate.
Should just die here. Question is, can he make sure that he does not give anything over to Upset? Looks like not really.
Upset could flash if he wants to kill. Ultimate works too. Nice sidestep. He's going to flash for it.
Gets the flash. Well played to promisq.
It's naturally worth it. promisq forcing out the flash is always good. And I believe that that's mid tower going down. Did take a Herald hit and a lot of hits from Razork and Humanoid earlier on. And Astralis trying to hold this vision line. They don't want to give it up. They don't want Fnatic to control this bot side river. I've said it so many times this game, but they're going to die trying to defend it. Razork face checking once again, but Fnatic's bot lane was there to collapse. And the play looked good initially. And they talked about it on the desk. Viktor and Aphelios are quite vulnerable targets in the early stages. Level 6 ultimates coming out from Dajor and Zanzarah. They can't really step up. They both have no flash. So it's very hard to retake this vision. But you can retake when the fight begins. And Humanoid was able to walk up.
Yep. Difficult situation where the Cataclysm for Zanzarah helps keep Razork locked in the fight. Helps secure that kill, but also sets up for an easy gravity well coming in from the Viktor. Now they move again together, rinse and repeat over and over again. But to be honest, it's been pretty successful for them.
And this is the first time we'll see the top laners join the game. WhiteKnight has actually abandoned top to come bot side. He has no TP, and Wunder does. So if he's hovering top, they're going to give up this Drake. So Astralis clear win condition here, sacking top tier 1, just saying, look, we're going to play for Drakes this game. Neutrals is the aim of the game. And I think Wunder with that Hull Breaker should be able to take down a full top tower with Demolish as well. That'll be an even trade. Astralis, of course, will trade for that bot tower that was low earlier on. Only had 1 plate left, so natural advantage for Astralis.
And remember, 20% bonus damage against structures when you do have that Hull Breaker. That's what makes it so easy for him to trade. But instead, trying to make the most of the Gnar timing. Looks like it's going to be a double TP. Leap in, but Kobbe quick on the trigger. He manages to make it out a clean. Gale floors. promisq on the retreat as well. Zanzarah buying space for the rest of the team. Disaster averted. Zanzarah, maybe the only one to be sacrificed, but Dajor goes in. Humanoid, though, says, not today, baby. Pops the stopwatch, but still a 1-for-1. Meanwhile, the fight continues. Hylissang, absolute mad lad. Now going forward. One more rocket fishing for the reset. Needs it to escape, but will not get it. Now Wunder leaps in, the flash forward, Kobbe goes down, and goddamn do I love Fnatic games.
Oh, double TP bot, the Fnatic special. It all went wrong with the ultimates initially, but so many micro-mechanical plays coming out from both sides. Razork almost found promisq. That would have been a sure kill for him. And all that time, WhiteKnight's actually up towards the top side. After the dragon died, he went up there. He's going to get this top tier 1. Fnatic's going to trade for bot tier 1. A lot of cross-mapping going on, but Fnatic winning out on these fights, even though Astralis put up a hell of a good one.
And that's the thing that I love. As Astralis in the early weeks just felt like they rolled over and died, but now pressure relieved. They play unleashed. They're willing to go toe-to-toe. Look at Kobbe's escape in this play. It's so clean.
Yeah, he dodges the Mega Gnar ultimate with Gale Force Flash. Now Wunder has no ultimate, dodges, flashes away from Razork's W. promisq ults away, and Zanzarah's EQing here to stop Humanoid from being able to collapse. He gets very low, Kobbe gets away, but Dajor shows the ultimate from downtown. Goes through, Humanoid pops the stopwatch, but he gets his combo off before he dies. Hylissang tries to solo kill Kobbe, but he levels up from the kill Dajor gets, so he doesn't actually die. And then Hylissang's gonna die on the next auto attack from Kobbe, but the Guardian procs as Hylissang ease back, so he survives. Kobbe dies, and promisq just about gets away with the recall. So many minor things coming together.
The littlest things. That Guardian's not off cooldown, that auto kills him. Jinx gets the reset, she runs away.
Yep.
This is how close some of these exchanges are. Incredibly well played by both sides, but ultimately, Fnatic the ones coming out on top. Early game, yes, Astralis are matching all of their bottom side plays, but Fnatic keep winning these skirmishes, and now they've managed to amass 2,500 gold lead. A little bit more as it continues to grow now, and Fnatic looking to take control of mid lane. They've already broken mid lane tower, and this is where it's going to get harder for Astralis.
Yeah, the game might slow down a little bit now because it's the mid game. AD carries go towards mid. The only worry I have for Humanoid here is, yes, he's 2 levels up and he's very strong, but he needs to be careful on side lane against Vex and Jarvan. He's a very easy target to pick off, but Fnatic's going to start up this Herald. Should be pretty free. Humanoid doesn't have TP and Dajor does, so if Astralis know this, maybe they fancy themselves some kind of fight. We'll see if they decide to enter. They don't have any vision for now, and that top tier 1 is gonna die on Astralis' side. It's very, very low HP. 1 wave and it should fall. So basically 3 towers to Fnatic right now. See how they use the Herald, expecting it to go towards one of the side lanes unless Astralis overcommit on one of them, and then Fnatic can just bail down mid.
And you can see too, moving across this, Gnar continues to be a nuisance as WhiteKnight is once again forced into the top lane matchup. Tower still has not fallen, despite the pressure and the time that he had there. We'll want to see exactly what Fnatic can do. Could play this the rest of this game out cleanly. They have a 3,000 gold lead. You feel like they do have the tools to do it. But for Astralis, I just want to see more fights, Caedrel. I like it. I like that they're skirmishing. I like that they're going in together. It honestly looks so solid. They just need to be 5%, 2%, 3% better, and they can actually win out on these exchanges.
And that's what we'll probably see because their comp is just literally engaged. Barring the Jayce poke, all they want to do is just run it down and flash on top of the carries. 4 stair flashes too, try to get out maybe or a kill, and then just do it again. That top tower falls. Wunder actually really ahead now. 2 kills in his pocket. Tower as well. Herald on the side lane as expected. We'll see if Fnatic can get this top tier 2 and what Astralis can answer with, because I don't think they have a mid-wave. Upset pushed in the mid-wave, move top. Astralis don't have a mid-wave to play on, so they can't trade this for a mid-tower. So good macro from Fnatic, 2 towers.
Yeah, Dajor's on the bottom side. He does have 4 kills under his belt, but if he's not in the area, he cannot do much to support. Teleport up and available, but burning it at that point feels like too little too late. He's going to push the wave in here as Wunder is there again to catch. Man, I hate Hullbreaker.
It's so strong.
So obnoxious. I'm just looking at him, I'm like, wow, Vex is strong. Maybe she could get a kill. And then I just see that little icon next to Gnar's adorable little head. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
And I was watching the LCK today, and KT Cuz built Hullbreaker Rek'Sai first item.
No.
And as much as I dislike it, of course, if you don't actually tunnel vision on the buff for side lane and the isolated kind of bonuses you get, which is nice, the item itself is very cost efficient. Do I think it's a first item on a jungler? I'm not too sure. No, I would say on top laners, guaranteed 100%. If you're isolated, this item just gives you so much cost efficiency gold value that it's just kind of crazy not to. On things like Jayce, not the greatest of items. Lethality is so important, mana immune so important, but on Graves, on Gnar, this item is very powerful.
Yeah, on the tankier, more bruisey champions, and it looks like Divine Sunderer to follow, so we'll shred through promisq and Zanzarah to be WhiteKnight probably as well. You can see a bit of armor coming in for Zanzarah to try to mitigate the damage that Fnatic are going to be throwing out. Now grouped up 5 members strong in the mid lane. They're going to get the TP out from Wunder at least, see if they can get anything else. Looks like Humanoid now coming in as well. That's the 2-man.
I remember what we talked about earlier, Astralis just focusing on dragons. They don't care about side lanes. They just want to go mid, get push, play a little bit of Aram, and focus on dragon fights.
But they're split. It's bad news. Fighting in a death ball also difficult. Again, you heard it on the desk, I will say it again. Astralis, they get 1 shot. If they hit it, Fnatic get obliterated. If they miss even slightly, the Aphelios and the Viktor will tear them to pieces.
Yeah, Astralis are like a shotgun right now. If they can get onto the right target and they can get in range of that target, it will get popped. Engage might be Dajor here. He's looking on the side. If he hits an ultimate, Razork goes first.
Razork going to start the fight first, though. Trying to find the engage, but the Cataclysm going to get erupted. Zanzarah, it's an entirely split fight. Dajor into the backside, triple, 3-man fear. Here comes the Galio. It's big damage. Is it enough, though? Trying to find the snare, trying to find the fall, but there's no damage to the backside. It will not matter. Kobbe still standing. Astralis taking the fight. They find their opportunity. They will not miss their shot. It's Hamilton, baby. That's the dragon for Astralis.
Yeah, Dragon Soul point as well. Lots of side lanes for them to catch too. I thought this fight from Astralis was going to be poor because Wunder played it so well and actually blocked the Vex ultimate from getting onto Humanoid. But the problem is, as they talked about on the desk, there's just so many bullets coming at you. The Jarvan ult, the Galio ult, the Vex ult, they're all just landing on top of these carries, and they had no space to work with whatsoever. Hylissang couldn't peel, Razork died to Kobbe, and the most important thing here is watch Dajor and watch Wunder. Wunder's positioning, fantastic. Blocks Dajor's engage. Razork goes way too deep though, so watch Humanoid and upset. Initial Jarvan engage, flash out. Dajor goes in, it's blocked, but Flash Fear comes in. Galio ult on top of that. Where's the pressure on Kobbe? Hylissang's fighting Zanzarah on one side. Razork tries to peel, but everyone's just so split up, and these carries have no space to work with whatsoever.
Certainly. And you can see a different world where that engage comes out for Razork. They disrupt the Jarvan, the Gnar gets into the backside, and it's so easy, but Wunder, yes, he does body block. He stops the Vex from getting perfect target access, but because the Vex gets it anyway, it just feels like the fight is over. Power of that flash, having that extra summoner, the Shadow Flame now coming out too. This Vex has to be respected. Again, later we go, stronger Viktor is relative to that target. But if Vex gets 3 seconds of hard CC between the Everfrost and the Fear in her kit, fight might be over anyway.
And the biggest problem now for Fnatic is both your carries don't have flash. None of your players have flash other than Hylissang. Only thing that they can use to peel is the Zhonya's. Upset bought a stopwatch for that fight too, so that's gone. A lot of defensive options are out of the window for Fnatic, so Astralis barreling it down mid and forcing these fights is what they're going to do. This side lane tower is going to die. Fnatic have to pay a lot of respect when Astralis walk up and contest these mid waves.
Fnatic, remember, still 3K in the lead. Wunder still a nightmare on the side lane, but Astralis have been showing up in the 5v5s, and that might be what matters most. We will have to see. For now, 3 dragons to Astralis. Cloud Soul definitely not the best, but will help a lot for the Jarvan, the Vex, as well as the Jinx and Galio.
And we talk about the dive comp so much, but the person who's quietly farming up is Kobbe. He's got around a 50 CS lead right now, and he's sitting on 2 items, building towards a third. This Jinx in the late game is going to be a monster. Yes, Aphelios and Viktor will be strong, but if Kobbe is untouched because all of these offensive dives like the Gnar ult, the Xin Zhao, and the Rakan are used defensively to peel for their own carries, Jinx can free hit, and we saw that in the Dragon fight. The dive was fantastic, but the fact that Kobbe could kill Razork and get a reset and move forwards makes it so the dive's even worse for Fnatic.
And I think the thing is, historically, Kobbe has been a quieter player. He's the man, you put gold into him, he does damage. That's his job, that's what he does. But this game individually feels like he's been showing up and he's been doing his job to perfection. We saw Gale Force flash on the bottom side fight. One more auto goes in his favor. Maybe it's a different landscape. But if you're going to rely on anybody on this Astralis lineup to do consistent damage, to be reliable in these tense fights, Kobbe is your man.
And Astralis on a kind of a timer here. Flashers are down. You have control of mid, but the problem is no one can go side lane right now. Wunder gonna get a free tier 2. What's the play, Astralis? Are you gonna force this Nash, or are you just gonna give it up and go catch these waves on side lanes and give Fnatic room to breathe through mid? They have control of mid, yes. They have got good dive, yes. Fnatic are scared, but what can you do with this? What's the play?
Certainly a good question. Again, tensions continue to rise because for Astralis, they probably feel confident they can win these best of 5s, might not even need to get one. For now, just forcing Razork away, some small cooldowns, but that's going to be upset, caught out. He's trying to heal as much as he can. Gale Force into nothing, and it just does not matter. Oh, do the R's come down, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, upset. Split second of decision-making says to himself, well, I can walk up and catch his midwave. No, you can't. Astralis have been hovering with absolutely everyone for the entirety of the game. No flash, he falls. 30-second line upset. Astralis lack a lot of ultimates right now. They have absolutely none, but they have a lot of flashes for turns, and they have ignites and things like this. A lot of combat summoners, a lot of combat spells are going to turn.
Astralis. 4 members making the call right now to turn in that instant. Gnar might just get taken out before he can even go Mega. It's disastrous. Without Mega Gnar, Wunder is useless. Humanoid now running. promisq flashing forward. Astralis, it's absolute domination in the Baron pit. They are slaughtering Fnatic. The TPs are coming in. The Baron will soon be falling. And is Astralis coming out on top.
Absolutely no fear whatsoever. 5 members of Fnatic fall. Astralis lose no one. Dajor TP's mid to try to cut Razork off. That's why he goes back in. And they're going to get themselves a Baron. And if they clear this out in base, they can run bot side. They have their ultimates coming back up. And there's a Dragon Soul spawning in 40 seconds.
And I just feel like Astralis are learning so many lessons across their game. They've learned about bot side focus. They stopped Fnatic from generating big leads. They're the ones who's tried to set up a flank in that exact bush against G2 and got blue warded. This time they're the ones throwing down the blue ward and punishing.
Yeah, Upset walks up for one single creep, and they see their moment. Zanzarah instantly goes in. The follow-up's great. And Astralis know here, we don't have a lot of ultimates to turn, but Fnatic is split up. Let's just go on those members. They don't want to let Hylissang flank. Let's just collapse on Hylissang. They don't want to let Humanoid kind of come towards the pit or Razork come towards the pit from a different angle. Let's just collapse on them. We don't have ultimates, but we certainly have damage from this Jinx. So fantastic play from them. You might question Razork, why do you go back in here? But what Dajor does is he TPs on the mid wave off to the screen here, and he realizes quickly, I can't go backwards, I have to go forwards. Tries his best and falls.
Out of the frying pan and into the oven though, because keep your eyes on that picture-in-picture. Another fight on the screen. Baron buff giving a lot of power over. Gnar going to be a big thing to keep your eye on. Not a hidden cooldown. Everyone knows when it's coming. Dajor off to the side, getting isolated. Being picked away. Has the ultimate to come back into the fight if necessary, but instead, Fnatic just fishing for the kill, just looking to shut him down. Big damage coming in for the Viktor. You have to feel like the ult is going to finish it. Razork trying to buy space for Upset. Upset, ulti up and available. He's going to throw it in the mid, but it's the green one. Not going to do a lot of damage, and that's going to be Soul going down for Astralis.
Fnatic have to chase. They have to kill Astralis and get these Baron buffs off. They don't have any waves to play on, and Astralis are weak. They lack a lot of their dive. The Vex is dead, and Kobbe is their last line of defense. He has summoners. Promisq, you can use the ult to disengage. Humanoid is on the side. Hylissang has ultimate.
Zanzarah trying to make it out. Burn coming through. They're just out of mobility tools.
They're gone. That's it. Fnatic aren't going to get anything for this. The mid wave will die. We'll see if they can get this mid tier 2, but they don't actually have anyone to hit it. Huge top wave stacking, so Upset has to base and catch that. So they get themselves a kill, but they've lost the Dragon Soul.
And Caedrel, when does the meme stop being a meme? When they beat Rogue, that was all anyone had to say. Of course, it's a joke. 9-1-1-9, why not? Symmetry. But when they start going toe-to-toe with Fnatic 2, when does it stop being a meme? When are Astralis just playing like a damn good team?
Oh boy, Dajor was looking for an insane flank here, but Hylissang saw him. And as much as 3 members commit onto Dajor and kill him, they get the dragon and they get out. Fnatic don't have any gas left in the tank to chase them. And we highlighted it at the start of the game, promisq and Zanzarah. These are the core members to get the team ahead. They've been playing bot side the whole game. Zanzarah has 100 kill participation. You can ban his Trundle, you can ban his Hecarim, but baby, is he comfortable in this Jarvan. In early game is his bread and butter. Kobbe safe into the mid to late game. Dajor is having a fantastic game in team fights, still 2 levels down, struggling in lane against one of the best mids in Europe. Can't really blame him on his first LEC debut stage game, but Astralis are in the driver's seat.
Certainly are. Baron buff will fade away in 20 seconds. The Cloud Soul, the last big advantage they have in their favor is the gold is just about dead even. Execution will remain the name of the game. We said it before, we can say it again. The compositions, Astralis, they burn all their cooldowns and they kill you, and if they fail to do so, they will get picked apart. Upset, still getting stronger. Only 2 items though to Kobbe's 3 means that might not even matter. The Jinx is so powerful that she can outpace the Aphelios in these fights to come.
Upset building the Bloodthirster to see if he can heal through a lot of this dive. Humanoid has no flash. He has stopwatch though. Astralis' Baron buff has worn out. Now the key thing for Astralis is yes, you're ahead and you have control of the map, but don't pull the trigger too early. Don't get too excited. Don't feel like you're under pressure to perform and dive onto this backline of Fnatic straight away when there's nothing to play for. 2 minutes, 30 seconds on the Baron. Around 4 minutes till the Elder Dragon. It's impossible for them to siege without Baron buff because they just don't have enough damage to just full-on dive Fnatic. And Fnatic have a lot of wave clear, but picks are good, but still a little bit scary to look for.
Gonna get the ultimate. Is a pretty relevant cooldown, especially if Astralis can start a fight now. Dajor looking for the setup. Keep your eyes on that bar underneath his mana bar. That's the fear.
Astralis needs to be careful here. They might overdive under a tower against a level 16 Viktor and a Gnar. They don't want to take that risk because getting aced would give all control back to Fnatic, and that just makes the dive a lot harder. Picks are what they're looking at, and the game might slow down a bit here unless Astralis do decide to pull the trigger, but it's very, very dangerous.
Cataclysm, the big engage option that you have to look at. The flag and drag. The poke now coming in. WhiteKnight's very powerful. Dajor and Zanzarah, the source of engage. If it's going to come from anywhere, it's going to come from them. Gnar comes out from Wunder, and Astralis immediately going to back away, giving that champion the respect it deserves, not wanting to risk anything, but still waiting in the darkness, looking for an opportunity, looking for a pick.
And the Jayce doesn't really fit into the dive, but the poke is helping them a lot in this late game for sieges. One shock blast forces carries the base. Astralis might have found an angle. Wunder has no Gnar.
Oh, look at Upset's health bar.
Poke is still raining in. They're going to get this bot tier 2, so that'll do for now. Don't think they can go any further because Fnatic are going to come out of base. They do have waves to catch too, but still Astralis showing no signs of fear whatsoever. 2 minutes on Elder, 1 minute on Baron. Now you could force a Baron fight with 1 minute time window before this Elder spawns, or you could just try to control mid and decide where the pace of the game goes towards.
Wunder on a solo mission, a bit of a risky one, but he's relatively confident that all of the resets have come through for Astralis. He's trying to lay down nothing. I was going to say vision, but all he can do is really get the Scryer's Bloom. He doesn't have any wards in his inventory. Oh, there it is, coming up just in time.
I was looking for maybe a little pick if Dajor tried to push a little bit further, and Kobbe just bought himself a Guardian Angel. He's at 4 items right now. Upset's at 2.5, so the damage from the backline from the Viktor is basically what Fnatic's relying on. And I think Astralis should just kind of press tab, look at the items. Humanoid has a Rabadon's, a Void Staff. Yes, he has a Zhonya's, but he's going to dish out a lot more damage than Upset. And he might be their target. If Humanoid falls, I feel like Fnatic are going to lack a lot of damage.
Absolutely. All eyes on Humanoid. Has to be the damage dealer. Has to be the hyper carry. Upset still woefully far behind the competition. Hylissang going to make it out, and ulti going down for Upset, just in case they do overcommit, would have all the chakram ready for the fight. But right now, it is Fnatic versus Astralis, and the team that is pressing the advantage, pressing the lead is not Fnatic, but Astralis. Have control of the pit. They have so much vision laid down. A ward over the wall for Fnatic. And this could be it. Fnatic instead opting to push mid, or will they take the fight?
Here's the 1 minute window they have. 58 seconds on Elder. If they can get this Baron and then move mid to bot, it's going to be a much better position for them. But Fnatic don't want to let this Baron go.
Dajor off the side. If the CC connects, can they burst him down before he can Zhonya's? Humanoid waiting, going golden. That's going to be the ulti now coming across. They want to finish the job. He manages to make it out. Zanzarah, Wunder with the Mega up and available. Flashing to safety. Astralis pushing them back, but they haven't gotten too much just yet.
Humanoid has TP, so he can base and TP back. Doesn't have flash. Upset still does. They're going to barrel down mid and get this tier 2 mid. I think they realize they can't fight this Baron, but they can keep bot side control. So Upset, I think, is just going to try to life steal up. Humanoid's going to TP back bot side. They have a bot wave pushing as well. They might just rush the Elder. How does Astralis get there? They need to base and they need to face check.
Humanoid healing back up, TPing down to the bottom wave. Fnatic, they can't win in the straight 5v5. They got to make it crazy. They have to push on another lane. They have to push for another advantage. They have to force Astralis into unwarded territory. More than enough damage on this Fnatic lineup to blow up any single member of Astralis, but they have to find the opportunity. They have to find the pick, because for now, Astralis remain in control, remain in the lead.
Wunder doesn't have his Mega Gnar stacked, but Fnatic are going to rush it. Astralis have to figure their way into this river. They're just going to run it down. Here they come. Astralis is ready to fight.
Hylissang caught out, getting hit by that taunt is everything! Hylissang is gone. Razork trying to buy as much space as he can. Upset and Humanoid untouched for now, but Astralis still pushing forward. Kobbe, the reset, fading away. Man advantage for now, but walking into Humanoid is still disastrous. It's promisq on the flank. The ward coming out. Razork, will he spot him in time? Yes, but Zanzarah coming in. That's the jungler gone. Dajor going in. That's going to be the two-man fear. Both the carries now locked up. WhiteKnight moving in, but Wunder up to the side. Taking out WhiteKnight. Can he get it done? In the meantime, Astralis, they've split their focus. They've split their focus, and Fnatic smell blood in the water. They move in. They see their opportunity, and they pounce on it. They split the fight. The Elder will stand. Fnatic will stay in this game. Astralis will not lose too much, but they will not get what they wanted.
Where was Kobbe? Where was the follow-up? They had a lot of room to work with. I think he was tanking the Elder Dragon, so he had to run away. The pick onto Razork initially was good. The rocket's there to cancel bases. Humanoid has to stay now. Astralis gonna base, regain their health bars, restock on wards. Fnatic, do you want to start it up? They don't have any vision on it right now because of the pink ward. Oh, take a breath. Astralis, they have TP on WhiteKnight. Dajor doesn't have TP up just yet. Razork's respawning soon. I think Fnatic are going to be first to this objective, and they're going to start it up once again.
Humanoid Zhonya's back up and available. Dajor's is not. Ulti's still a little bit away, even with the cloud. Fnatic have to take this one. If they take the Elder, all bets are off. Any lead Astralis built for themselves is irrelevant in the face of that buff.
Where's the TP? WhiteKnight is respawning now. Dajor is on his way. It's going to be another 5v5. Keep your eyes on Razork. His positioning, he could walk in and R-flash, go for some kind of insect.
Over the wall from Razork, has to be careful. WhiteKnight collapsing off. Razork going to be forced to ult early. Hylissang now stepping forward, fishing for the top, but promisq is ready. Wunder, keep your eyes on the Mega Gnar. This could be the last hope for Fnatic. The entire pit is absolute chaos. Razork, can he win this fight? Meanwhile, the fight actually breaking out upset of the wall, but it's a perfect ult to peel away, and who's going to get it? Fnatic and the Elder! It's a split fight. It's absolute chaos, but this is where they thrive. They have not taken the fight.
Kobbe, flash over the wall. Fnatic needs to lick their wounds. There's only 2 members left.
Oh, that's the Elder buff. How much can it do? They're getting poked down. They're getting picked apart. Upset, he needs to sidestep the EQ. But if he backsteps, he might just die. They go in. It doesn't matter. Yes, they get the Elder. But the cost will be the game. I cannot believe it. On the stage here in Berlin, Astralis find another upset over a playoffs favorite. They will tear through Fnatic. They will stop their bot side focus. They will show up bigger and better in the 5v5s, and they will find their win.
Oh my lord, what a game we've had. The cheers coming out of Astralis. The top teams are struggling versus the bottom team, and Astralis are here. They're here to play.
Dajor's first game on stage, and he was so clutch in so many fights.
Zanzarah's full of energy. He's screaming. The emotions there. Oh, I love having the players back in the studio.
I am blown away, you know? And people will look at this and they'll pick, you know, they'll look for the mistakes from Fnatic. They'll talk about it, but at the end of the day, promisq and Zanzarah shut down so much over the early game plan. from Fnatic. Kobbe, pretty consistent in fights. Dajor, yes, he died a bunch, but he also made a ton of plays, and that's what mattered.
Oh, Astralis take a bow. The early game stats are through the roof. Every single game they're playing, they're getting leads. And this time around, they close it out again. They've beaten Rogue, they've beaten Fnatic.
And look, there's only one thing left for us to do, and it's key a player of the game. You can only put 3 players, can't put all 5, so it's got to be at LEC on Twitter, Zanzarah, Kobbe, or promisq. Those are your options, but...
Oh, Zanzarah had 100% kill participation. 100%. Kobbe was popping off in the fights. promisq's engages.
Bro, he
the last
interrupted
2 weeks.
every Hilly engage in those last 2 fights. You can't go in when Galio has W, but Hilly wanted to risk it. He wanted to flip it. He wanted to try.
And Dajor was giving up so many waves just to help his team, roaming around, engaging, dropping side waves. Man, Astralis.
I wish I could say I'm at a loss for words, but I just have too much to say. But that said, it's enough from us, because after the break, Ashley's going to be joined by promisq to talk about how they beat Rogue and Fnatic in the past 2 weeks to stay alive in this season.